that?
This is fresh and pink.
Oh, that's nice. I like that. I think a bit more there. Yeah, right there. Oh, yeah. Great. Good. So how are you feeling?
Do you know what? I feel great. I've never felt better. Oh, I'm so excited.
Hey, someone get me Arvell Gray.
Oh, they're calling for you now.
Okay, I'm gonna get up there.
So excited.
She on her way up yet?
She's on her way. I am so ready for this day. Okay, to number one. Oh, thank you. What's all this mess? Okay, can you lead the way? Because I am so nervous that I don't even think I can find my way. Okay, what's my name? My name is, hello, I'm Arvell Gray. I'm your primetime host. Welcome to WTN. Hello, I'm Arvell Gray. I'm your primetime host. Welcome to WTN. Hello, I'm Arvell Gray. Oh, thanks.
Is she coming? Where is she?
No, I've lost my place. Hello, I'm...
Oh, she's in the studio.
I am Arvell Gray.
We're late. She better hurry up.
Host. Welcome to WTN. I'm Arvell Gray. I'm your primetime host. Welcome to WTN. Well, I'm Arvell Gray.
Okay, get ready to roll Arvell's
I know
theme.
what I'm doing.
Rolling.
Cameras ready?
Thank you,
Ready?
thank you. Oh, yeah.
Okay, she's coming on stage.
Thank you.
Stand by.
Okay, ready to take camera one. Everybody ready?
Ready and able.
Hello, I'm
Okay,
Arvell
take
Gray.
camera one.
I'm your primetime host. Thanks for joining us on WTN. And
What happened?
We've lost our feed.
Oh my God!
Ah! What's my worst nightmare? Well, this may sound very small, but that's what my greatest fear is. It's the small little widget that you don't really worry about, but actually has to hold the whole system together. And just when we're going on air, it breaks, and we don't have any backup. And all you see on air is total black.
It's funny, I don't wake up in a cold sweat. I haven't from the beginning. The people who are working so hard to put this channel on air, the part that really matters, which is the programming, these people are so dedicated and so talented that I don't worry about them. And the people who are working hard to make the technology deliver this programming to viewers are really committed and really know what they're doing. So I don't worry about
This
them.
is the office where WTN women are working very furiously. That's it. Up, up, up. Actually, we're only on the 3rd floor. But come on in, and we'll show you around, introduce you to all the folks here, and the camera woman whose face is now planted in the cement. Come on in. Hi there. Just doing the right thing right off the bat. Okay. Hey, here I am. There you go.
there.
Enjoy. See you later.
Wow.
Bye. Hotel. Money.
I'm cold.
Yeah. Oh, there you go.
Great. Oh, great.
So check it out at your leisure.
Great.
And see you later. See you later. Don't make me sick.
I think what's really interesting, having been part of this experience for 6 months and trying to get a television station from nothing to a workable station in 6 months, is the commitment of the people who are on the team to do that, the commitment of everybody.
There's quite a few of them that are hardworking.
Really?
Yeah. And they're, I don't know, they're workaholics as far as I'm concerned.
It's been 6 busy months, that's for sure. We started June 7th, and I think we had a telephone, and I think that's probably the thing I wish we hadn't had, first of all, because we began by receiving 600 calls a day, And there was me and only me. Humble beginnings is right. You know, when I was a kid, orange crates were considered pretty good furniture. Well, we didn't have orange crates when we started, but we did have the packing boxes from our computers to use as tables and benches and places to put things.
Our lovely, yes, executive furniture.
We were actively involved in carrying out the functions of the business and didn't have furniture, didn't have telephones, didn't have pencils, papers. We simply were bereft of any of the normal administrative support structures that you would expect that a company would have, and yet we were busy getting production going.
The first month I was here, the office was in a slight state of chaos. We had nothing. We had no books. There was basic things missing: staplers, pens, pencils. I didn't have a phone, and I had stuff all around me. Well, I guess it's still the same. I have lots of stuff around me. I have piles of tapes, but it's organized chaos.
You want to introduce people to WTN in a wonderful way. We're a wonderful professional organization, and we're welcoming you with open arms. By the way, you have nowhere to sit, no phone to use, no computer to use, and you're going to have to, go outside to get something to eat or a cup of coffee, because that's not ready either.
So I sat down and I looked at my piece of paper and I sorted my pen a few times, and that's about all I did for the first 2 days, because I didn't have a computer yet.
When I first started here, it sort of looked like, well, it didn't even look like a telephone. The phone lines weren't even hanging out of the ceiling. But I'd have musicians and composers come by to play music and stuff. And we didn't have anywhere to listen to it, so we had to go down to the parking lot and sit in my car and listen to their music. It was quite the riot. I have a convertible, so we put the top down, sat there, drank a Fresca. It was kind of nice.
And people would come and say, "Oh, nice office." No, it's okay. But I'd have this little desk, and then all I had was tapes, as far as you could see in any direction, VHS screening tapes. And Laura, Michael, Tricia, and I, and Susan Milliken eventually came on board and just started screening. And no one could actually believe that we'd screened all these tapes, and they'd walk in and they'd think my office was pure chaos.
Take a look at my office. Constant chaos, we call it.
And I'd say, "Oh, no, it's all organized. That side of the room is the side that's screened, and this side of the room isn't screened." "Oh, okay."
Whoa, this sounds like fun, Get to work with all these really neat women. I get to watch all this television and film them all over and decide what's going to go on. And so in the summertime, last July, I took all these tapes down to my cottage and had to get a TV in the cottage because we didn't have a phone. I had to get a phone, I had to get a fax, and I had to get a TV in this little tiny cottage.
Hello.
I gotta talk. Yeah, I got something I really need to talk with you.
And then I told them absolutely not.
One of the questions we're most often asked is, where did you get the idea for this channel? And I think the idea for any television channel comes from what do viewers want, and are there enough viewers who want that? And so 5 years ago, the people who put this application together went about researching what was missing on television. And right away they discovered what was missing on television was television targeted at the majority of the population, television for women.
Well, one of the interesting things is that in the summer of 1993, Linda and I invited 15 women from across the country, from Nova Scotia to Vancouver, of different ages, some of whom had been involved in broadcasting, many of whom hadn't, invited them all to actually sit down for a weekend with a blank slate and say, "Okay, if you could create television the way you'd like it to be created, what would you do?"
Hi there, I'm Saroja, and you're watching Girl Talk, a mix of interviews, insights, and attitudes from teens all across Canada.
Hi, I'm Dinosh. It's about being a teenager. It's about speaking our minds, sharing our experiences and opinions.
And I'm Vanessa. Girl Talk is provocative and gutsy. Television produced for girls and by girls.
I'm Kathleen Matthews, and this is Working Woman.
Join me, Mary Bellows, and Hoover for Car Care on WTN.
Hi, I'm Mr. Maynard.
Join me on Call Us. We want to hear your concerns. We want to hear your stories. We want to give a voice to women across the country.
Hello, and welcome to 39 Weeks and Counting, a series about pregnancy, birth, and early parenting. I'm Leslie McDonald.
My name is Toni Morrison, and I want to welcome you to Little Rocky.
I'm Helen Hutchinson. And I'm Sylvia Sweeney. And I'm Jeanette Lokman. Join us for an hour of current affairs from a woman's perspective here on POV Women.
And the interesting thing to me is that a lot of ideas that came out of that weekend are still in the schedule.
We've conducted phone surveys, we've conducted written surveys, we've had focus groups. 400 potential viewers wrote us letters and told us from their hearts what they wanted. In fact, we even changed the name of the station because the viewers told us the old name isn't cutting it. But WTN, now that's a name that we can identify with.
This is WTN, Women's Television Network.
Told us that they had there was a hierarchy of concerns. The very first thing they wanted from television was comedy, humor, make us laugh. Second was news analysis, make us understand the world around us better. And third was information, but information that we can use.
And what they told us was they wanted informative television. They wanted television that showed them people they recognized, people, their neighbors, themselves, their children. They wanted television that showed good role models for their children. They're really concerned about the television, the images it shows their children.
Ah! So now, what do I do?
Put your finger in. If you can feel water on the tip of your finger,
yes,
you're fine.
How's that? That's all I got.
My role model would be definitely Madonna because, I'm not sure, I love her because people hate her and love her at the same time.
I don't really have a role model, and I guess that's sort of depressing not to have a role model, but I have an ideal of what I want to be, but there's combinations of people in the world that sort of personify what I want to do, but not one singular person. Probably the closest thing I have to a role model is my father, just because he's done well in his life and he's done it all by himself.
You could go away, watch something on somebody else, come back to us and know that you could feel comfortable, that it would always be like coming home. And that you knew there would never be women as victims, that women wouldn't be murdered and dead in the first 5 minutes, that there wouldn't be horrible portrayal issues vis-a-vis women, and that in all of the entertainment and the comedy, that women would be really strong female protagonists, and a whole variety of female protagonists, but that women would either drive the story or a man and a woman would drive the story together. That, to me, was really, really important.
I usually just get a tie. Now comes the hard part.
You're gonna have to learn to fly this thing.
Don't jockey the throttles here, huh? You're like every other female pilot I met. This isn't a washing machine. Use the rudder.
I'm using the rudder. There you go.
Use the rudder. Okay, Papa says...
Try it again, I know. Got it that time, Matt. What do you think?
Okay, well, remind me to kiss the ground when we get off this baby. Together, look in front.
Good. Am I doing good?
Doing all right. Let's try again.
General, we have reports of aerial assaults and company strengths to the west. There are also indications of armored support.
And intelligence reports a breakthrough along front lines. Now, the 37th Battalion is heading towards us from Wadi Ben Bar, but there's no estimated time of arrival.
Have Frank's battalion move a company into these crossroads in a blocking position. They're going to have to hold for at least a half hour, and they can pull back to the MSR. Chuck, how many warm bodies do we have? I want them all. Drivers, clerks, kitchen staff, anybody who can move and fire a weapon.
Well, no, not counting women soldiers, we have 221 administration, motor transport personnel and such.
Count the women.
General, are you sure you want to commit women troops to battle?
The women were trained to fight. They will fight.
No more war! No more war!
General Taylor, when you quoted General Sherman about men who have never gone to war, were you aware that President Hamel never served in the armed forces?
No, I was talking about those people who are eager to wage war without real regard for the cost in human lives. I wasn't thinking about the president.
Do you agree with the president?
More important than Al Gore, I could run this country if I had the chance. Got an office down the hall, now Bill can't fool around at all. In this White House family, I wear the band. Whoa, yes, I'm his wife, but I'm in love with politics. Yes, this is the life I might run in 96. I am Clinton.
Am I to take it from your festive appearance and look of enthusiasm that you're new here?
And am I to take it from your note of cynicism that you're not?
I expect you'll be the by-election.
Well, I'll be who won the by-election, yes. Jean Price, Labour. Majority of 507.
Ah, just scraped in. Godfrey Egan, Conservative, majority 14,010, and a standing ovation. How do you do?
Time would prove that she could do what was required to reach the heights of greatness. But before Martina could conquer the world of tennis, she had to conquer herself. And that meant taming the tremendous temperament that often sabotaged her game.
This is Martina Navratilovan's first Wimbledon singles final.
While Martina moved to perfect the discipline and character of a champion, she could do nothing to reach the family she loved. Her own mother and father were not only forbidden to come to her matches, they were unable to watch at home. The Czech government blacked out Martina's performances from public viewing. Her parents had to secretly travel to the border to see their only daughter on television. Like a daughter of destiny, Martina clung to the encouraging words of her father, the man who told her to leave it all behind and go for her greatness, the father who told her to just believe, and one day she would win Wimbledon.
First got licensed and the phone started ringing and independent producers started calling, they'd say, oh, we have a great cooking show for you, a great fashion show, a great gardening show, makeup. Those are the things women want, don't they?
Such a good housekeeper. Dinner's always on the table. Out of 5:30 sharp. Oh, her hands are never idle. Oh, the sacrifices she makes for those children.
Not all women were ladies. I knew it when I wasn't conducting myself in a becoming manner. Ladies waited for men to open doors, pull out chairs, help them across the street. True ladies were modest and didn't attract attention. They showed sophistication but remained demure. Today's lady, I was told, treats everyone equally, with kindness and consideration, and always places her own desires and feelings last.
Mom, is this...
For women and about women, and that's exactly what we're doing. But what it turns out the women are proposing that they want to do stories about, they want to do stories about how to deal with the business world. They want to do stories about global economics. They want to do stories about issues that involve children and how we can in fact raise our children to be better citizens of this country. They want to do stories about poetry.
Barb Bardee said, Shirley, we want you to produce a program to put Canadian women's poetry on television. Their words, scripted right out of their poetry, music, nice pictures. And I said, well, has anybody ever done this before? Not in Canada.
This is the writing on the wall, the words, the wisdom, the wit of Canadian women poets.
After the bath, spotless and serene, my alabaster angel child. Before the bath, fight to the finish scene, grimy little alabastard.
Because it's not an easy thing to take a medium that's television, mix it with something that's words like poetry, and expect them somehow magically to work together, because they're separate for a reason, and they're two totally different kinds of worlds.
They want to do stories about all sorts of things, but which aren't the traditional home economics school of women's programming. And so that's what we're doing. We're going to do sport. We're going to be looking at women in cars. We're going to be looking at women in sports fishing, actually, if you can believe that. We are doing women in sports fishing.
Oh, look at that fish. Is he beautiful? They're very tricky, so they may go after it and they may not. Now, I'm just bringing this guy in here now. Pull it right in. I'm going to bring you right there. Bring him right up. Okay, hang on, hang on. Oh, hang on, hang on. Gotcha. I'm just going to try and get that hook out. Right there. Oh, it was hooked very lightly. What a gorgeous fish. We don't want to keep him out of the water too long, so let's release him nice and slowly into the water. I'll just hold him here for a second until he can revive himself. Just a nice one. Just a couple of pounder, I think. And let him go. Beautiful.
The sea is full of many riches. One of these is a delicacy, abalone. We can buy it at the grocery store. Pearls are some of our oldest jewelry. We've enjoyed them for centuries. Now there's something new. Instead of pearls only from oysters, we may find pearls from abalone.
What would you like to show us?
Be creative. Don't just sort of say, oh, this is what women's programming is, so therefore that's what a women's channel should do. And I think what we tried to do was to break all the stereotypes of that and to create dynamite television that people would really want to watch. And that's all people. We're programming to women, but basically I think a lot of men are going to watch too because it's going to be great.
This is certainly highly animated.
I love you.
How did you get this table? All those people are waiting.
Because we're English and England is protecting Romania against the Germans. And I bribed the waiter.
Do you know him?
That's UNESCO. He's the Minister of Press and Propaganda in the Romanian government.
Why is he smiling his arm?
Because we're English, and England is protecting Romania against the Germans. You see?
Who are the women?
His wife and relatives.
His wife looks downtrodden.
Well, she is. UNESCO comes here because he's having an affair with Florica, the singer.
Brings his wife with him?
Ah, Inchcape and Lawson, how splendid! We're all together again. Professor Inchcape, my commanding officer. Clarence Lawson, my colleague. This is my wife, Harriet.
So, you've got yourself married.
Well, it was a very hot summer.
Dangerous place to bring a wife. Apparently, the business community wives have all been sent home.
I don't appreciate being sent anywhere, not being a parcel.
Are you going to drive?
All sorts of walks of life, all sorts of interests that they have, and we're doing it on a shoestring budget. Most art shows are very big budget, lots of production value, and we're doing this in a very raw and gritty way. And what you're going to see are women poets, painters, sculptors, rock musicians, but people that you haven't necessarily heard of. There are some big names in there, but a lot of these women are women who galleries haven't exhibited, who aren't getting the headline billing, who aren't making a lot of money with their art. Many of them are
Specialize at 82. Tootsie Seguin insists you can be a jack of all trades and master of some.
I feel that I'll miss out on some things if I don't experiment some of the different ways of expressing myself.
Join us for another episode of The Time of Your Life. Carol Fisher felt she was missing out on something, so she became a volunteer grandparent. Now there's a little girl named Shauna in her life, and some extra rewards she never expected.
Through my relationship with her, I'm reminded that I'm capable of joy and laughter and good qualities.
I'm really thrilled to have Roberta Alamo.
Hold that thought. You know what I'm looking forward to? I mean, hold it, really. I am looking forward to the time when one of my children, they don't have to get married, they just have to have their own place.
Move out.
I'm waiting for them to move into their really nice home, hopefully new. And the first thing I'm going to do is not bring in, you know, a traditional loaf of bread or bag of salt or flowers. I'm going to come in with the biggest, loudest, hardest, sharpest butcher knife I have and slice ham sandwiches on the counter. Because, you know, you live
and then
with,
eat them yourself.
You live with teenagers, and by the time they leave, your house is destroyed. You know, you've got like corrugated countertop because nobody uses a cutting board.
Right.
You know, you've got pinholes in all your walls from posters and stuff.
I'm never going to survive.
You're right, and that's the only time
leave.
they're ever going to care.
Yeah. And then they leave.
And it will really get them, because, I mean, I've been in that.
Well, the thing about eavesdropping is that when it was first proposed, I thought it was an interesting idea. It was very unconventional. There was going to be no host. There was no script. We had no idea what was going to be in it. All it was 5 women sitting around talking, following their thoughts in whatever tangential sort of way that occurred to them. And who knew what would happen? But in actual fact, it's turned out to be very, very strong. These women have been honest. They've been frank. They've revealed parts of themselves, and although on the surface they look quite a lot the same, women know how to spiff themselves up, they get themselves together, they come in. Underneath, they've all had very different life experiences. They've disciplined their children differently. They've had different experiences in love and relationships. Their relationships with their partners are different. They've been treated differently by the medical profession. And so they share those experiences. And your experience as a viewer is very much being able to sit back, much as if you were at the next table in a restaurant, and indeed eavesdrop.
About these things.
Say that their worlds definitely, our worlds definitely include men.
Yes. Good.
Physically, he would probably be very tall and dark and passionate, definitely passionate.
Actually, there aren't any men. It's all women. Oh, and I said, but we're programming a channel for women. Well, why would I hire a man to program a channel for women? Oh, yeah, you're right.
You know, I think, basically, it hasn't really been much of an issue.
There's actually, in the administrative side, there are actually 2 guys that work with us. And I think that they love it.
Are you happy to be working here?
I love my job.
To tell you the truth, you're the only applicant.
The only woman.
I've been really, really looking hard for a director of engineering and operations, scouring across Canada to find somebody. And I get a call from our recruiting agent who says, "This is really terrific. I found some people who just knew the right person to fill this job. A woman who's had lots of experience in the television industry, is an engineer, just the person. Carol Darling." I thought, this is really good. All I have to do now is clone myself, and there we have it. I've spent several years in engineering and the technology side of television, and it's been my experience many times to be in rooms, meetings nationally and internationally, where there have been 30 men in blue suits sitting around the table and me. So it was no surprise that when I went out looking for a director of engineering and operations, it's been a tough position to fill. We've put together a team on our engineering and operations department with about 70% women, and typically the positions that we have filled there in the studio and in master control and our VTR operations department, some of these women have come to us with some experience. Some of them are being mentored in things like camera operations and whatever by some terrific men who have all sorts of wonderful experience. And together, I think we have created a really unique team, and it's going to be a whole lot of fun.
That we're actually sort of on the verge of something really new. And for me, that was what really excited me about the idea. And like everybody, from the moment somebody mentioned to me, "Would you like to come and work on this station?" I said, yes. I didn't hesitate for a second. They said, "Well, you have to move. You have to move from Ottawa to Winnipeg. Have you ever seen Winnipeg?" "No, I've never seen Winnipeg. That's not a problem. I'll move to Winnipeg to work on the station. I'll go anywhere to work on this station and help make it a reality." And that's true of everybody, the whole team. Everybody I've ever interviewed for a position, everybody I've ever talked to has said to me, "I really have to help make this happen. This is so special and so important. I just have to be part of this."
And I said, "Winnipeg?" And she said, "How do you feel about it?" And I said, "I'll call you back."
We just found the most incredible treasure trove of resources here in Winnipeg.
I was approached by someone from the network and told me all about what was happening with the new women's television network, and got me really, really excited, and then mentioned the fact that it was in Winnipeg. So I had 2 days to decide. And I went home, and I talked to my husband and told him all about it, and he was extremely excited. And then I mentioned it was in Winnipeg, and he said, "So what? No problem." And I kind of thought about it and figured it's an adventure. And to be a part of all of this was well worth the move, and here we are.
I mean, one of the things that we really wanted to try to do was to create television in a different kind of way, and that we wouldn't look like every other broadcaster that was out there, and that when people were going through with the clicker, that they would always know that they were at WTN. Now, people would say, "Well, how do you do that?" Well, part of how you do that is that you have hosts. Now, I know there are some other channels that have hosts, but one of the things that we found was that a lot of women, if they live alone, they turn on their TV set, and they have their TV set on all day long. And they do that because television becomes a companion. So what we wanted to do was to truly make it a companion, and so that your television would actually be your friend, and that you would feel comfortable with that friend. So when we originally started looking for hosts, and my original ideas about hosts, it was really, we've got to find people who are not so sort of television primed that all they can do is actually read a teleprompter, deliver their lines, and go home.
For me, growing up in the country, a kitchen was the center part of the house because that's where people came to visit. And when the harvest was on, that's where the men came in and the women to have their harvest meal. It was really the center of activity.
How did you know you wanted to move from the country into the city? When you did the university thing?
When I was 3 years old. No, I'm just kidding.
When you have to do farm chores, forget it.
No. Well, when you grow up...
Yeah, I can't get that far from home.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
You're a homebody.
I have to be able to reach my mother at any given moment immediately.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, that's how honest you
I
say that, don't you?
I should. That's really sad when I hear it, but I just couldn't do it. I don't like to fly, so that would be probably what it is.
They can talk about their mother. They can talk about if it was appropriate that they got drunk last night and they have a hangover and they feel terrible. But that they can be honest. And they can express pain. They can express happiness. And they can bring about a sharing with the audience that rarely ever happens. And so that over time, you'd actually have the audience writing letters, the audience communicating, and then in fact, our four hosts would really get to be their good friends. And I really hope we can achieve that. I mean, we've spent a long time looking for the hosts. I think that it wasn't easy, and I think we're just thrilled with the people that are here. And I mean, irony of ironies, three of them came from Winnipeg, and one of them came from Regina. And I've already gotten feedback from Toronto and from various other people in other cities who have said, where did you find those people? Like, did they have their own TV shows before? I mean, what were they doing?
I love our hosts. Arvell, 18 years in broadcasting in both television and radio.
And I would like to bring you some of those lives and a little bit of my own as we meet over the next year. Could I have a sip of water, please? On the primetime set, there is a long draped piece of fabric that I like to call the fabric of life.
Jennifer. She has a journalistic background. She's made a real reputation for herself in entertainment reporting. She's going to bring a lot of that to WTN. Sorry, this one. Second. Yeah. Okay, 3, 2.
Story 3, 2, 1. I've always been pretty much myself on the air.
And we want to develop it. We want to bring fun and life and entertainment to WTN, and I think Jennifer can do that for us.
Working the split shift at WTN, after school and late night, gives me the chance to come at my viewers from 2 different angles. Is that the right word? Yeah. 3, 2, 1.
Gloria. She had her own show on cable Regina called Our Town. It was an interview show. She brought other people out in her show. This time, she's the show. And I think it's going to be a little bit of a trip for Gloria, but it's going to be fun getting there.
When I first joined WTN, it was under the condition that I would be the prettiest host. Then I met Jennifer.
Hi, beautiful.
I think she's agreed to the conditions.
Oh, how are you doing, Gloria? What's new?
I don't know if I'll survive this job.
You'll be fine. You're going to be terrific. You are certainly one of the most dynamic hosts.
Great. Let's wrap it up. I need to go on a plane.
Welcome to WTN.
Thanks, dear.
Cut.
Can I do it this time?
Caroline, 8 years in broadcasting, radio only though, no experience in television.
I've never been on television before. I don't even know what to wear.
You look like an Arabian princess. There you go. We'll just make this a little bit.
This will be a quick little segment.
She's going to break all of it.
Oh my God. Yeah, look at what your other clothes are. It was actually, it was that on what I was wearing when I walked in here.
She's quite
black blazer.
something.
Casual, which is what I am.
What about that kind of thing? What kind of shirts? Thinking about what you can, what kinds of things always look for. I mean, in my mind,
Caroline is a natural. All she needs is a quick lesson in how television works.
what you would say to a friend at home.
It's not like I'm all alone out there. I'm part of a team.
And refer to the channel as if it were a person. And they came up with a really interesting personality for the channel, which is a really good friend and
So I had this dream. I'd only been working at WTN for like about a month or two. And I'm a producer, and I produced a couple programs for the network. And I had this dream that I was swimming up in Hudson Bay in northern Manitoba. Now, if you know Hudson Bay, nobody swims up there but polar bears, right? I'm up there swimming, and a friend here from WTN convinces me we should go skinny dipping. Well, you can ask my mother. I'm a turtleneck woman. I don't go skinny dipping. So we go skinny dipping, and no sooner are we in the water, it's nighttime, and a giant switch is thrown, and all these lights in the bay of the ocean light up. And there's people standing on a cliff looking down on us, right? Now, I don't know what Freud or Jung would do with this, but I think it's a dream about risks, taking risks, and it's a dream about being exposed. And I think early on, that's really quite how I felt, because we were doing programming that was risk-taking. And it was a program, you know, they were programs that we were going to really expose to the Canadian public ideas that maybe they hadn't seen before on Canadian television. I can say quite happily, I haven't had that dream again. And I think that's because as we get closer to the day, I realize that we've created programming that's innovative and creative and original, and that people are really...
As a filmmaker who makes short films, you never get to tell your mom or your grandmother or your dad or anybody else that this is ever going to be on, or actually to showcase your work. And a lot of people really only like to make short films. And so I think what we did with the idea was to say, let's celebrate it.
I have an opportunity to watch hundreds and hundreds of short films and videos that are produced by women, not only in Canada, but internationally. And they range from the most bizarre, the most experimental, to the most touching, beautifully shot pieces of drama that you could ever imagine. And one thing about short films and videos is there's such limited venues and so little distribution of these films that no one sees them.
Are you still wearing that bag?
I've decided I feel a lot better with the bag on.
Well, I'm sorry, but I don't want to spend my time with someone with a bag on her head. With a laughing stock.
Producers across the country, to women in independent production across the country, that we wanted to project and portray Canadian women. And you can't do that by getting your production only out of one place. And so we've got production from Vancouver to Halifax and also from Toronto. In fact, we have some very important signature services located in Toronto where we do POV women and girl talk.
One of the biggest shocks I guess I had when I came here was the fact that they're all so wonderful. But I was so overwhelmed by the experience that Sue said it took me a week to get the colour back in my cheeks, but that was because I came on so late and there was a very bare-bones staff that was here to start with. And then I found to my horror that the bare-bones staff is just about it.
We've tried really hard to get a blend of people here. We need to have women working with us who come from a lot of different kinds of backgrounds. And I'm not just talking about the politically correct backgrounds, making sure that you have someone who represents a certain kind of ethnicity or racial or whatever background. I'm talking about people who come from different economic backgrounds as well, different life experiences. With someone like Helen Hutchinson, she brings such a wealth of not only broadcast experience, but life experience.
I am Sylvia Sweeney.
And I'm Jeanette Lokman.
I'm Helen Hutchinson. And we're your hosts for POV Women.
POV Women is going to be, I think, a really different kind of current affairs program. Current affairs to us means something different than it does to people who've worked in traditional media, people who work in the mainstream, view current affairs in, I think, a slightly different way than we will be doing. Current affairs to us is what women are talking about now. Those women may be reacting to something they've seen on the news. It may be a story, a topical news story that interests them. But I'm just as interested in what women are talking about when they get together with their friends, with their husbands, with their children. Those are current affairs to us.
I'm really looking forward to this season on POV Women, and it's the reason I came out of retirement after, well, it's 7 or 8 years away, because I've never before had the opportunity to work with women in front of the cameras, behind the cameras, in the control room, in the office, and looking at stories, issues, arguments, from a fresh point of view, which is the point of view we've all held all along anyway, but we've never been allowed to fully express. And we're coming to the stories not with somebody else's point of view, but with our own, which is to say, it's not a pasted-on point of view, saying, oh, well, we must represent women. We are women. So naturally, our point of view is slightly different from that of a man. And we've got 3 diverse, really diverse hosts on this show.
For me, I think it's going to be interesting because we're going to address a lot of issues that traditionally have been left behind by the normal stations. And personally, I think it's going to be interesting because I'm going to have a lot of my own perspectives challenged because we're going to look at it, as you say, from a woman's perspective.
Well, as far as a point of view, everyone knows I have one. Not that you want to hear it, but what's exciting to me is the fact that we have so many points of views that we're going to share. And when we say women, it's generic in its tone because women have various points of views, but they have also specific needs they need to express. And I think you find that even sitting here with the 3 of us, we have 3 generations between Helen and her experience, Jeanette being what they call a Gen Xer, and me, I hate to say it, but I am now a qualified middle-ager. So as such... Whether you're qualified as a middle-ager or not, by the very nature of the 3 of us sitting here, you are a token middle-ager. This is it. But one thing that's very important to know is that we're listening. We're listening to each other, and we're hearing a fresh perspective. So as important as it is to us, I think it's just as important for you to join us here on POV.
And the volume that we were going to require. And indeed, it is a challenge to figure out what your schedule is going to be, what are your priorities, and who are you going to get to do those things, because in many respects, you're dependent upon the ideas people bring to you in a lot of ways, and you have to say yes, no, and you say no 150 times for every time you say yes. But the fact of the matter is there are an extraordinary number of talented people in this country. Some of them are young, some of them are not that experienced, and we're taking a lot of chances with talent that hasn't had a lot of chance before. And this gives you some sleepless nights, it gives you a few moments of panic. There are some missed deadlines, and here we are, minutes before air, and you know, there are some tapes I wish had come in last week, but nonetheless, we're getting an extraordinary quality of work. Really interesting stuff, edgy stuff.
I predate Gloria Steinem. I mean, get real. I mean, Gloria Steinem...
Of 5 shows, the woman that I was shooting, her opening remarks, she starts to break down. And of course, me, I was listening to her, and sure enough, I lost it too. Camera was all shaky. My producer asked me what the problem was, and that's exactly what happened. I was wiping away the tears, and it just moved me so much. But unfortunately, as a camera operator, I have to put it out of my mind, so I tried my best and continued on with the shoot. But it's an experience that I'll never forget.
Before the CRTC license came down, I knew that I wanted to work at WTN, but I didn't know any of the people that were involved, any of the key organizers, any of the, the founding members, and I was calling all across the country trying to find out who they were. And when I finally connected with the office where Barb Bardee was, I spoke with a couple women in their office and spoke with Barb, and I said, there are women in this country from coast to coast who go to bed night praying that you get your license.
Boom, the announcement came through that we had won a specialty license. For a moment, it was complete and, utter excitement. We were dancing, and within about 30 seconds of the announcement, the phone started to ring. And just picture 2 people, 7 phones, 4 lines, small office. we spent the whole time running from one phone to the other, double fisting these phones, and at a certain point I just stopped saying hello. You know, I just started saying, ha. I didn't even get to finish my sentence, and it was just people going, tell Barbara congratulations, tell Barbara way to go, license, excellent, blah, blah, blah.
In June when it was announced, it was like a prayer come true. It was like the best thing that could happen for a female independent producer right now. The perfect opportunity to provide programming that I like to produce. I've always felt that it's important for women to interact with other women, that we learn from each other more and can enable each other through information to provide a forum. And that's what Corus is. It's an opportunity for our program to provide the caller with information given by professionals, but also for them to call us and tell us what they need to know, what their story is, so that we can provide through their story as well an expanded opportunity for them to learn from each other.
Just the sheer number of jobs that we've created, and the number of work opportunities that we've created, and the relationship that we developed with the men in the technical positions that are training women in master control and VCR and camera work. It's like a vision, a dream come true. It really is. And we may not be the largest employer in Winnipeg, but it sure has been fun finding the people here to do the jobs, to do the work, and getting to know them and getting to know a whole new community of people. That's number one. Number two, I love the programming that we've created and acquired. That's another dream come true.
How many words can you think of for big girls?
So our programming is coming from all over the world. So personally, the opportunity to watch all this programming has been amazing.
For 49 years, the film lay untouched as a silent witness in a forgotten place.
We sleep here, we eat here, we bring in food, we relax, and there's been about 8 of us rotating at all hours, day and night.
I think if you come here in the last couple of months, in the middle of the night, you find people here working. And they're here not because someone's paying them an incredible amount of money to be here, or because they have no homes to go to, or no partners, or no animals, or cats to take care of. They're here because they really want to be here.
I can't stand it anymore!
Through all the work that we have to do, I'm sitting there and I'm figuring out when we can get everything done. How about next weekend? Damn it, it's Christmas. Humbug.
Yeah, Merry Christmas, Joy and Laura. Have another 20.
Not. We're going to be in here the 24th till 9. I can see it.
It's okay, and I will leave, I promise. Okay, I know. No, I'm good at, my goal is to take tomorrow off in Christmas.
Good. Do I really want to be this busy at Christmas? Like, I figured, no, I want a Christmas. And then I came in and I talked to Barbara, and like, that was it. Instantaneous. I'm working here. So I have to be here.
Forget your foolish pride, nothing's wrong. Now you're beside me again. Whoa, whoa, whoa.
And I think that some of the nicest things for me that has come from my staff in terms of feedback is where people actually say how much they really like coming to work. And that for many of them who have worked in traditional broadcasting organizations before, it's just a totally different atmosphere. One, to launch a channel. I'm not sure anybody needs to do it twice in their life.
Sorry to interrupt. The Don French stuff, did it come in the publicity?
I don't know.
Because
I know the tape did.
Yeah, the master, but...
We actually got... The tape came all on its own, so I don't know.
And the contract came on its own.
The contract
and we don't have any
came on its own.
publicity, promotions, or cue sheets. It's not here yet.
Do you want me to phone them? Well, boom, that's London, England, so it's the middle of the night. One of the things that I'm asked a lot is, what's it like to work with a group of women? And I can honestly say that it's just been wonderful. That most of the women here have come from different places, and very few of us knew each other before we started here. And it really is a group of interesting women who have had interesting careers. Like, it's amazing when you start talking to people what they did before they were here. And you realize what a commitment it was for them to leave the interesting jobs they had to work for WTN. I think most people have a real sense of commitment to working here. It's new, it's exciting, it's the ground floor. You very rarely get an opportunity to work on something this big from the very beginning.
What kind of book?
Don't tell the designer.
Books or a CD?
I know here there are many women that have come to work at WTN that have come from CBC. And I remember there was one fellow, just right in Winnipeg here, there's probably half a dozen of us that have left CBC, and many of us have put in a lot of years there to come work for WTN, because it's like a chance of a lifetime. And there's a manager over at CBC that said, I feel like I'm watching an old Western. They're taking all our women.
And it took me, now bear in mind, 15 years at the CBC, a lot invested in the CBC. It took me 30 seconds to say, okay. And 2 days later I left for France, came back, and 2 days after that started here. And that was that. There was no decision to make in my mind. If I hadn't done this, I would be kicking myself for the rest of my life.
My worst nightmare, to make a mistake.
Statistics show that people are more likely to make mistakes on the job for up to 2 hours after consuming a high-starch or high-sugar lunch.
Good old days? You mean we could take lunch? We could go home at 5 and watch Young and the Restless and have a decent make supper?
This is normal, is it?
But no, it's just that, look, you still come home every day to this, what's really kind of a mess. And you still feel like you're at home. And that's really important to me. And I think that's what the station is about, too, is about feeling at home. And from the moment I heard about the station, that's how it felt to me. I thought, what a great idea. I've got to be part of this.
The decision-making process that I experience is, as we've all heard, much more collaborative and cooperative amongst women. Well, you know what? It is. No question about it. There's far less ego. That is not to say that I'm not surrounded by incredibly talented, creative people with no egos, but the ego doesn't get involved in setting up hierarchy or who can make decisions or communication paths. Whoever is best equipped to make the decision gets to make the decision.
Ashley Saunders, show 5. The art facility that will really prepare us well for the digital television future.
Today, the woman with a position in business equal to a
Actually,
success.
the greatest thing about this job and going from being an independent producer to a broadcaster is that I get a paycheck every 2 weeks.
Need ammunition, and the job is yours and mine. Keep punching the clock until you knock out the foe. Don't stay away or you'll be missing the show. If you want your country free, don't be an absentee.
The level of energy is extremely high. I have to send people home rather than get them to stay. Nobody rushes out the door, you know. Quitting time is whenever they're done.
It's a great time to also go and sort of check out what's happening in the kitchen, what's happening in the fridge. I have a rule here that anything that's here beyond 9 p.m. in the fridge is open territory. And a lot of times these staff will come in the next day and go, hey, I had like a sandwich from yesterday. I go, I ate it. I was here till midnight. I had to have a snack. Sorry.
I also think it's been really good to see people blossom in their jobs, and where people started out shy and retiring, and then over the course of the last few months that they've really come onto their own, and that they've really felt much better about who they are, and that's been really, really wonderful.
How many people are staying here tonight?
It was clearly destiny that brought three forces together to create what we now have as WTN. I know of no other way to explain why or how such diverse activities that were going on in the country came together, except that it was meant to be. Now was the time, and the people were ready. And as it turned out, following all our market research, so were women.
I think the ultimate goal is that we all know we're creating programming that we want Canadians to say, finally, television we've never seen before. I remember one of the first days I met Barb Bardee. She said, Shirley, we're going to show them how television is supposed to be made. And I went, yes, I want to be there.
We will get this sucker in the can.
I'm Caroline Hunter, your morning host on WTN Women's Television Network. I'd like to welcome you, wish you a happy new year, although judging by the fact you're awake right now, you're probably not terribly happy anymore, but we're glad to have you here. You've just seen 2 hours on the making of WTN and how everything came together finally. And up next, you're going to get a chance to see some programming you'll find weekdays on WTN. It's called Birds of a Feather. It's a British comedy series. Features two sisters whose husbands get thrown in the pen, and they come together trying to make a life for each other. Birds of a Feather coming up on WTN.
This is WTN, Women's Television Network.